So as you can see in the screen, we have here the Ewin Tulfo versus People case, a comprehensive legal analysis of libel, press freedom, and the responsibility of the media. So we have here the background of the case, which is understanding the conflict between individual reputation and free press. We have here the petitioner, which is Ewin Tulfo, and journalist and columnist. Ewin Tulfo was the author of the direct hit column in the daily tabloid Remade. He was charged alongside his editors and the publisher for 4 counts of libel. His defense centered on the constitutional guarantee of press freedom and the claim that his articles were qualifiedly privileged communications regarding matters of public interest. So we have here the respondent, which is Attorney Carlos So, and based on the Bureau of Customs official, Attorney Carlos Ording So served as the officer in charge of the Customs Intelligence and Investigation Service, or the CIIS, at the Manila International Container Port. He alleged that the articles published by Tulfo were inflammatory, baseless, and maliciously intended to destroy his reputation by accusing him of corruption, extortion, and smuggling. The publication, or as we call Remate, the platform of the accusations, Remate is a widely circulated daily tabloid in the Philippines. The reach of the tabloid ensured that the allegations against Attorney So were broadcast to a vast audience. It reached the general circulation across Metro Manila, and the liability under the Article 360 of the RPC, the publisher and editors share criminal liability for defamatory content.
The direct hit column intent exposed corruption. Tulfo claimed they aimed to fulfill the media's watchdog role by exposing alleged extortion and illegal activities within the Bureau of Customs. In Tulfo versus People, Erwin Tulfo argued that his direct hit newspaper column was written in pursuit of the press's watchdog function. According to him, the intent of the article was to expose alleged corruption, extortion, and smuggling activities within the Bureau of Customs, particularly involving Attorney Carlos Ding So. Tulfo claimed the purpose of the article was public interest journalism, not personal attack. He asserted that the column was trying to inform the public about alleged wrongdoings in the government. He relied on the idea that the media acts as watchdog over the public officials. However, the Supreme Court of the Philippines ruled that even if exposing corruption is a legitimate journalistic purpose, journalists must still verify facts and avoid reckless or malicious accusations. The court found that the article contained defamatory imputations that were not sufficiently verified, so the defense failed. The missing link. While the intent was public service, the court found a fatal flaw: the total lack of verification or factual basis for the specific attack on Attorney So. In Tulfo versus People, the missing link refers to the gap between a legitimate journalistic objective and the legal requirement of responsible reporting. Tulfo argued that his direct hit column served the public by exposing alleged corruption in the Bureau of Customs. The court acknowledged that the press had a watchdog role and that exposing wrongdoings can be a public interest. But the court said that good intention alone is not enough. The fatal flaw that Tulfo failed to show are reliable sources, adequate investigation, supporting documents, or efforts to verify the accusations against Attorney Carlos So before publishing them. In other words, the court found that the article contained serious accusations but lacked a proven factual foundation. Because of this absence of verification, the court treated the publication as reckless and defamatory rather than protected journalism. Tulfo had the claimed purpose of public service, but he could not connect the purpose to responsible fact-based reporting. That missing verification destroyed the good faith and press freedom of the libel case. Timeline of offending articles. May 10, 1999. First article labeling Attorney Saw as an extortionist and corrupt official. On May 10, 1999, the first offending article in the Tulfo versus People case labeling Attorney Carlos Ding Saw as an extortionist and corrupt official. This article appeared at the direct hit column of the Remate tabloid and accused Attorney Saw of being involved in extortion and corruption activities at the South Harbor. It also made inflammatory claims about his alleged involvement in corruption dealings, linking him negatively to various groups. This publication was the starting point of a series of articles targeting Attorney Saw, which subsequently led to a libel case against Ewin Tulfo and other journalists involved. May 19, 1999 article. This article continued the accusations against Attorney Saw, grouping him with other custom officials, labeling both as magnanakaw, who extorted money from custom brokers. The language and claims aimed to reinforce the earlier allegations of corruption and smuggling presented in the May 11 and 12 article. The piece emphasized that the official illicitly gained wealth by exploiting their position, targeting public outrage, and custom corruption. 99 article. Articles during this period repeated and reinforced the stories about smuggling and accumulation of wealth through corrupt practices. They maintain a strong tone, often using harsh or inflammatory language to depict the official involved as corrupt and deceitful. June 25, 1999. Final article mocking the libel suit filed by the compliant. The article reacted directly to a 10 million libel suit that the compliant Bureau of Customs official Attorney Carlos Ding Saw had previously filed in response to Tulfo's earlier columns accusing him of corruption. Instead of reacting or showing caution after being sued, Tulfo used his June 25 column to mock, insult, and double down on his attack against the public official.
Moving on for the part 2 of the case, which is the legal journey from the regional trial court to the Supreme Court. We have here the procedural history, and in 1999, the RTC, or the Foreign Informations for Libel, filed conviction of all petitioners. In 2003, the CA, or the Court of Appeals, affirmed the RTC decision in its entirety. In 2008, the SC, or the Supreme Court, affirmed conviction but modified the penalty. Finality, decision became a landmark for media responsibility. We have here the trial court verdict, or the 4 counts of libel. Guilty beyond reasonable doubt, the RTC found that the articles were libelous per se. It initially sentenced Tulfo and his co-petitioners to imprisonment and ordered massive damages to be paid by Attorney Saw. So as we can see here, the context, libel in the media landscape. From 1990 to 2000 and to 2010, it illustrative trend of high-profile libel cases involving journalists and public officials. So we have here the defense, freedom versus responsibility. In Borgel doctrine, Tulfo cited Borgel VCA, arguing that fair commentaries on public officials are privileged and do not require proof of truth. In qualified privilege, the defense argued that because the complainant was public official, the prosecution must prove actual malice.
Today we have the core legal issues evaluating identification, privilege, and malice. And we have 3 questions that needs to be answered. The first question is, was Attorney Carlos Saw sufficiently identifiable in the article as Attorney Ding So? And the answer is yes. Attorney Carlos Ding So was identifiable in the article as Attorney Ding So. The article explicitly referred to him as Attorney Ding So of the Bureau of Customs, linking him to corruption allegations. This identification led to the libel case as the article accused him of misconduct, with the Supreme Court later ruling on qualified privilege and actual malice. And the second question is, are defamatory attack against public officials is privilege? In the Philippine statement against public officials can be privileged under certain conditions, primarily when they relate to official duties on lack of actual malice. And the third question is, did Tulfo act reckless disregard for the truth? In the Tulfo versus People of the Philippines case, the Supreme Court of the Philippines ruled that the prosecution failed to prove Erwin Tulfo acted with reckless disregard for the truth. The court found no proof that Tulfo knew his statement about Attorney Carlos So were false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. This because the prosecution did not meet the high burden of proving actual malice, a requirement for libel cases involving officials. And in addition, Tulfo's articles were protected as qualified privilege communication since they concern source official conduct on the Bureau of Customs. And now let's proceed to the identification analysis. First, we have criteria, petitioner's claim, and court's finding. We have target name. Petitioner's claim, Attorney Ding So, and the court's findings, we have only one Attorney Carlos Ding So in the BOC of records. What does BOC means? BOC stands for Bureau of Customs Records. We have location. The location is South Harbor, and court's findings, we have inconsequential third parties identifiable in the complainant. And we have admission. For the petitioner's claim, there is no identification. And for the court's finding, we have Tulfo's
Topic reckless disregard for truth. So this means a person, especially a journalist or media personality, publish information without caring whether it is true or false. In libel or defamation cases, they can show actual malice because the person ignored so no verification. Tulfo admitted he never met the complainant and did no research beyond a single unnamed source. So, this means the journalist or broadcaster did not properly check if the information was true. Instead of interviewing the complainant, gathering evidence, or confirming fact from reliable source, he relied only on one anonymous source. So, why this matter? Responsible journalists require fact-checking before
So in this slide, it explains the factors that can show actual malice. So actual malice means that when a person spreads information knowing it may be false or without caring whether if it is true. First is the reliance on unverified rumors means using unreliable or anonymous sources. And for the second is the persistence after legal action. So it means that continuing to publish harmful claims even after a complaint or legal case has been filed. For the third is fabrication of details means adding information without evidence. And for the last is failure to recant means refusing to correct or withdraw information when there is no proof. So overall, these factors show the importance of responsible journalism and fact-checking before sharing information.
The Supreme Court ruling regarding the modified penalty in the case of Erwin Tulfo versus People. The Supreme Court affirmed the conviction of Erwin Tulfo and his co-petitioners for libel because the articles contain damaging accusation without proper verification. However, the court modified the penalty imposed by the lower courts. Instead of imprisonment, the Supreme Court imposed a fine of 6,000 pesos per count of libel. The court explained that while freedom of the press is protected by the Constitution, journalists still have the responsibility to verify information before publishing it. At the same time, the court also wanted to avoid restricting press freedom too harshly. The ruling reminds media practitioners that freedom of expression comes with responsibility and accountability.
At the ethical implications of a mate case involving Erwin Tulfo and attorney Carlos So. This case reminds us that while the media acts as a vital watchdog, journalists must verify facts before publication. Although Tulfo claimed he wanted to expose corruption, the Supreme Court ruled that publishing serious accusations without a factual basis goes beyond protected speech. The court established three critical legal reminders. First is that freedoms are not absolute. The Constitution protects the press, but it does not shield the spreading of rumors that damage reputations. Second is the shared liability under Article of 360 of the revised Penal Code. Editors and publishers share liability for defamatory content even if they did not write it. So, three is the actual malice. It's so very malicious. The court found Tulfo acted with reckless disregard for the truth by relying on and verifying the rumors and continuing his attacks after a libel complaint was filed. For modern media, the lessons are clear: verify sources, anchor criticism and truth, and balance freedom with accountability. As Justice Leonardo de Castro summarized, freedom of expression as well as freedom of the press may not be unrestrained, but neither must be restrained. It's too harshy. Thank